and welcome to LFC Focus. It is post-match reaction showtime after Liverpool have just kicked off their Premier League 2019-20 campaign with a resounding 4-1 win against Norwich City at Anfield. It was pretty much the perfect way to start the season. There were a few problems here and there that I'll come on to later on the video, but I am of course going to start off with the positives because that's how Liverpool started as well. You know, certainly the first half was the better of the two. We ran absolutely riot. Norwich just had no idea how to cope with the way Liverpool were playing in that first 45 minutes. So starting off with the first goal, you know, I think before that Norwich had a couple of attacks. People maybe thought that this wasn't going to be as simple as we first thought. But I think if there was one game that this match reminded me of, it was the Huddersfield game towards the end of last season where, you know, we ended up with a very comfortable win. We took our chances when we had to. But to be fair to the opposition, they did get forward. They did look to actually create opportunities and they did have a few shots inside the box. But it literally just came down to the quality that both teams had in the final third. Norwich didn't really have any of it. You know, every chance they created in that first half was either skied or shanked wide or whatever. It didn't really work out for them going forward. Whereas when Liverpool had their opportunities, they took them absolutely brilliantly and they took them mercilessly as well. You know, there was absolutely no regard for the fact that Norwich were only just back in the Premier League. We tore them to shreds early on. You know, the first goal, great play from Origi, you know, getting at the defender, doing everything we know he's good at down that left-hand side. You know, after maybe a lacklustre performance in the Community Shield, I think it's fair to say, you know, it's always harsh to judge players on the way they perform against Man City because it's quite easy to have an off day against a team that good. But today, he just looked like the Divock Origi of last season, you know, that aggressive, skillful, fast, strong winger that just runs at defenders and terrifies them, scares the living daylights out of them. And the intelligence to play the cross early as well, that's what catches the defender out. The fact that Origi hasn't actually already gone round his man. He plays it before he does so, and that's what means the Norwich defender has absolutely no time to react whatsoever. So it's really, really smart play from Divock Origi. He deserves an assist for it, I guess. I don't know if that's what he gets, but he certainly deserves one because he did very, very well to create the chance. And then, you know, a bit harsh on the Norwich defender. You know, he looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him up afterwards. He was head in his hands, on his haunches. He looked utterly miserable, which is fair enough. You know, 7 minutes into your first game back in the Premier League, it's not really how they wanted things to start. I think it was just the perfect way for Liverpool to get off the mark, you know, to spell any early nerves, you know, any feeling that, you know, Liverpool might not have the goal scoring touch, that maybe we'd be missing something without Sadio Mane as well. Maybe we wouldn't have a proper attacking outlet down that left-hand side. Divock Origi put everyone's fears to bed early on. Great way to start. And then, you know, the second goal from Mo Salah was just absolutely fantastic. The guy has started the season like an absolute beast. I mean, it's reminiscent almost of the very early stages of his Liverpool career where he was more of a right winger rather than a sort of a wide forward, as it were. You know, he'd start out there and he'd cut inside and he'd cause a nightmare for the left back. He'd be awful to try and defend against. He'd dribble past, he'd get into the box, and then I think he sometimes didn't quite have the right idea today. You know, before he scores that goal, I think he has a moment where he gets into a slightly similar position and just kind of overruns the ball because previously last season, you know, he was playing in a more central, slightly more advanced role where if he beats his man, the obvious option is always to shoot. Whereas the season before, when he beat his man, he was in a similar situation as he was today where he can shoot or he can play the pass. And I think he was almost more spoilt for choice than I think he was expecting to be a bit earlier on in the game. But when he gets the goal, you know, it's great play from Firmino as well, who, by the way, I thought was absolutely fantastic. You know, picked up where he left off in the Charity Shield as well with the little flicks, the touches, being absolutely everywhere as well. You can't tell that he's only just got back and had played like, what was it? I guess about a 90 minutes worth of football before this game tonight. The sharpness that he showed, the fitness he showed as well to just get out the pitch, get around the pitch, get in Norwich's faces, win the ball, and then the stuff he was doing with it, the little flicks, the smart passes, the way he finds Salah in that incredibly tight space for that second goal is just fantastic. And then the touch and the finish is sublime. It's like, it's not even like the ball is glued to his foot because it just keeps moving. The momentum's still on it, but Salah just bewitches it. He takes it into his path and suddenly no one's getting it off him, and then just the deft touch to finish it. The way he shapes his body, like I said, it was like the Salah of earlier on in his Liverpool career where he just was unstoppable. He was untouchable. Everything he did turned to gold. You know, whenever he gets the ball now, it feels like he's going to make something magical happen, and that wasn't the case at the start of last season. At the start of last season, it felt like he was forcing it a little bit, like he was trying to live up to the Salah myth. This time it looks like he's just trying to do his best possible football, and if he does that for the rest of the season, he's going to be absolutely unplayable at times, because I thought he was brilliant today, and probably the man of the match, I think it's fair to say. It's between him and Firmino. Both of them were brilliant. Both of them set the match alight. But I think Salah, for the way he takes his goal and the way he tormented their left back throughout the game, he deserves the man of the match accolade for me as well. And then obviously third goal assisted by Salah as well. It's a great cross, great play from Van Dijk. Maybe Norwich could have defended a little bit better. I thought overall in that first half, they just looked shell-shocked. They did not know what to do with Liverpool's attack. I think it makes sense almost that they were a completely different team in the second half, and they sort of worked themselves out and got their bearings. But I think they lost all their composure in that first half, and Liverpool just did not let them get it back. The way we just relentlessly attacked, we didn't let them get their bearings, we didn't let them kind of gather themselves and regain their positioning or anything. It was just goal, goal, attack, goal, attack, goal. It was utterly brutal, and the Van Dijk header was a perfect example of that, where he's got a marker, he's got a lad on him, but he just says, get off. He just elbows him, gets in front of him, doesn't even need to jump, just nods it down past the goalkeeper. It's a brilliant header from Van Dijk. They said on Sky that was 6 goals in his last 19 Premier League appearances, which, obviously that's only over the course of half a season's worth of games. But if he does that for a whole season, that's double figures easily. So, keep it up, Virgil, because we could do with a few goals coming from elsewhere. So, third goal, brilliant as well. The fourth goal was fantastic. Great cross from Trent Alexander-Arnold, who maybe had a slightly iffy game in the Community Shield, didn't play very well defensively, and I thought going forward as well, his delivery wasn't quite there at times, but I thought today he was offering a much better outlet, not just with the cross that he plays for the Origi goal, but also going forward in the second half as well, getting into the box, trying to create chances. He looked really, really good. He linked up with Salah very, very well, so absolutely no complaints there as well. And then a fantastic header from Divock Origi. That's what he's brought in the side to do, those type of goals, to just offer an extra outlet that teams maybe aren't prepared to deal with when playing against Liverpool, because obviously he doesn't play so many games. Teams aren't expecting a kind of target man figure, especially with him coming in from the left wing as well. It means teams never know he's going to be there. They can't sort of leave a man in that kind of area to deal with Divock Origi, because sometimes he's going to peel all the way out to the left, sometimes he's going to drop deep into the midfield, and other times he is going to be in that perfect spot to get on the end of a cross. And then obviously, great header from Divock Origi. It feels like he's really got the finishing touch now, to the point where it's not something we need to worry about anymore. Earlier on in his Liverpool career, and during those times when he was in and out the side a bit more and hadn't quite reached the level that he's at the moment, I think the main worry with Divock Origi was always, everyone knew he worked hard, everyone knew his skill and his strength and his pace and all those attributes, but there was always the worry that when it came down to actually being in front of goal, he didn't quite have the golden touch. But I think he's found it now. He's had enough big goals on the big stage that he's got the mental side of his game sorted out now, and he finishes that header absolutely brilliantly. Solid performance from Divock Origi as always. Absolutely nothing to worry about there. That's kind of the motto from today's game, and I think one of the big positives I take is that it was kind of like a lot of those games last season where there wasn't a clear man of the match. It wasn't like Salah ran the show or Firmino ran the show or Origi ran the show or anything like that. It was a solid team effort. Everyone played at around about an 8 out of 10, certainly with regards to the forward players. So yeah, the first half was pretty much perfect. Absolutely nothing went wrong. Apart from Alisson going off injured, I mean, fingers crossed for that. Because, Adrian looks fine. He conceded a goal, but apart from that, he looked reasonably solid. But he's not Alisson. No goalkeeper is Alisson. He's a world-class goalkeeper and possibly the best goalie in the world at the moment. I think, to be honest, he probably is. So for him to go off injured is obviously a huge blow for Liverpool. And Adrian, like I said, is fine, but he's never going to be a like-for-like replacement with Alisson. So we just got to cross our fingers there. I don't really know what happened. It looked like a muscle strain, looked like something that was going on with the calf. But hopefully that's just because obviously he's come back late. It's maybe cramp, just a little bit of a strain. It's probably precautionary as well, because, the moment we went down, we were 3-0 up by that point. So we were like, just get Alisson off. There's no point risking him. Get Adrian warmed up, get him on the pitch. So hopefully that's fine, but we'll find out more about that, I'm sure, in the week. Obviously, we've got the game against Chelsea on Wednesday, so it'll be interesting to see whether he's available for that. But obviously, apart from that injury, a pretty much perfect first half for Liverpool. The second half, not so much. I feel like I shouldn't really criticise us, because obviously there's a thing that kind of happens when you go 4-0 up where the players, I'm not going to say they don't try as much, but they try a little bit more audacious moves, really. They're not just going to go for the jugular and go for the easiest method to goal. They're going to try and maybe perfect the moves they've been working on the training ground, which is understandable, really, because I'm sure there's plenty of stuff Klopp's been trying to drill in with them on the training ground that they're going to want to be able to try out in matches to see if it works in those types of situations. And what better way to try and work them out than in a game where you're already 4-0 or eventually 4-1 up. So I feel like we can't really criticise the attack for not scoring any goals because they were still effective. They still got the ball forward. They still threatened. It's just I think we were trying slightly more funky moves going forward than we maybe would have done had we only been like 1 or 2-0 up or something like that. Obviously, Norwich get their goal as well, which isn't ideal. It would have been nice to have the clean sheet. Obviously, we had the best defence in the league last season, and we obviously want to carry that through to this season as well. With Gomez back in the side, you want to set a precedent that is going to be the undisputed centre-back pairing. It feels harsh on Joel Matip, that, because he ended the season so brilliantly, but Gomez is the future. I think it's safe to say, he's young, he's brilliant, he's still improving as he goes along. He's going to make mistakes at time, but he's going to get better. So you want to set down the marker that is a centre-back pairing that's going to be imperious throughout the season. So conceding on the first day against a team like Norwich isn't ideal, but you're never going to keep a clean sheet in every game. Alisson wasn't on the pitch, so maybe he saves that. Maybe I'm being too harsh on Adrian when I'm saying that. It is, like I said, disappointing to concede, and maybe disappointing to have allowed Norwich as many attacks as they did get throughout the game. But that kind of thing normally happens on the first game of the season. It's always a little bit mad because no one's kind of found their rhythm. Van Dijk and Gomez haven't really played together much at all since Gomez's injury in December. So they're going to have to find a little bit of a rhythm there and sort of work out exactly how the partnership is going to work now that it's being resumed. And, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andrew Robertson, they're all finding their rhythm as well. Adrian came on midway through the game. So I'm not going to read too much into it. I was watching it on Sky Sports and Jamie Carragher wasn't best pleased. I think it's fair to say he was kind of worried that this might be a sign of things to come throughout the season, especially if you read into the way we played in pre-season as well. But I think the real test of our defence is going to be the game against Southampton in a week's time. That's going to be so much more difficult. I doubt we're going to score 4 goals in the first 45 minutes in that game. So it will be much more important that we keep it tight at the back as well. So I'll read more into it in that game, but for today, it's the opening day of the season. These kind of things often happen when players are finding their rhythm, and when Liverpool have won 4-1, it feels hard to really complain. So yeah, all things considered, a great performance. Always great to get the 3 points, of course. It's maybe a little bit disappointing that we didn't go for the jugular as much in the second half, because obviously goal difference is essentially like an extra point, especially if the title race is going to run as tight as it did at the end of last season. So it would have been nice to maybe see a 5 or a 6-0 or whatever, but I sound spoiled just hearing myself say that, so I'm going to be happy with the 3 points. A great way for Liverpool to kick off the season. It's nice to get the game done and dusted early on as well, obviously with the game in Istanbul in a few days' time in the Super Cup on Wednesday night. So yeah, I'm happy with the performance. Let me know what you guys thought of it down in the comments below. Let me know your man of the matches as well. Obviously I said it was Mo Salah. I thought he had a brilliant game. He looks like he's going to have a great season as well. He looks like he is absolutely on it from the start, whereas like I said, it took him a while to get going at the start of last season. I think he's just going to be banging in the goals from minute 1 this time around. So yeah, let me know if you thought he was the man of the match or whether you thought it would deserve to go to someone else. Apart from that, don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, hitting that button down there. Hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days. Don't forget to follow at LIVFocusTV on Twitter. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back soon with the pre-match content for the Super Cup. Until then, bye for now.